So Joe Hummel and I talked about this when we talked pop culture just before the top of the 9 o'clock hour. If you were to draw up a list of your top 10 resolutions for the year, I bet a good number of you would have within that list finding a new job. So many people's jobs impacted in 2020. And it's a tough environment. It's a tough environment still. We are looking at job contraction last month. And Chris Burkhard, Placer Staffing in Newark, joining us this morning. Chris, you have that. You also have national unemployment claims rising again. I mean, how do we react to this stuff?
Well, first off, Happy New Year. And I do feel like we've been here in this conversation.
Yes.
There is no doubt that this is a very challenging moment for the economy and jobs on a national and local level. 790,000 claims last week. We're basically flat. We're 4 times where we were pre-pandemic levels. And I always try and bring a little good to this. I think there's just truth in this particular week. There's no doubt the holidays had an impact. Many folks tried to take a much-needed break. There was a thought that unemployment extensions might expire. I think that deters people from applying. And then, even in the year 2020, layoffs are reduced around the holidays. It's just kind of what happens in business. So we've got the relief bill signed. There's a $300 increase, and that's good for those that need it. That's on top of the state benefit. And it's my belief that, workers aren't required to apply for a benefit the week they're laid off. They can take their time. And I think you are going to see claims go up. It's my guess, my prediction. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. We get vaccinations sped up a bit. I think we're going to see some good in this in the long run, but we've just got to be flexible and patient over the next few months.
So if we're in the position where we're trying to find a new job, Chris, and we're looking at the unemployment rate in Delaware, which, as I think a lot of people would agree with you, is likely to go up. As we look at that number, I mean, what does that tell you then about the job market?
Well, surprisingly, and I know this, if you're unemployed, this doesn't matter. It's just a number. But we're at 5.1%. It doesn't really feel that way. I mean, I'm in this business. I pay attention to it for a living. Of course, it feels higher, but it's the strangest. It's the strangest recession we've ever had. Pockets of businesses and, of course, jobs have been, just devastated, while others have been unscathed. So we've dropped in unemployment. By the way, I think it's going to maybe stay even or even go up in the next month or two.
Yeah.
But 75,000 Delawareans lost their jobs. 40,000 got it back. But that still means there's 27,000 or so people that are unemployed. Of course, that's way too many. And I think the most challenging thing, and it's just not being talked about enough, is that a lot of folks have had to drop out of the labor force. Yeah. And that's real. And it's hurting productivity, and it's hurting families. The number for the month of November was 5,000 people stopped looking for work. In a small state like us, that's a good bit.
Yeah, that's always a problem. That's always a number that, as you say, doesn't get talked about enough. But it's really telltale of what's going on when people have to make that move. Certainly, no one wants to do that. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Always have something to say. The good news is our proof that they'll go back to work, they want to work, is because they were all working on March 9th. Yeah, right, exactly, right. And so as we come into 2021 then, Chris, you look at the current realities. We have pandemics and restrictions, the job market itself. If someone's listening right now that is either and also, there are people that you lose your jobs at the end of the year. It happens all the time as companies try to straighten their books out. What advice do you give someone as they try to get that maybe fresh jump on things?
3 or 4 points. Be as flexible as possible. This is not a time to be rigid. Consider applying for different jobs. Try freelancing. This is the time to be open-minded when considering work. Now, as a part of that, you cannot expect hiring to look like it did last year. Manufacturing is doing well, so look at those trends. We're all buying more blenders and sofas during lockdown. So manufacturing has jobs. I've said it probably 10 times in your show. E-commerce is roaring. If this is the time you want to look at that, jobs are up 5 to 6 times what they were in March pre-pandemic. It isn't for everyone, but there is flexible work there if you want it. Gosh, we all know that the tech firms, large and small, have come through this relatively unscathed, and they are continuing to hiring. And actually, what I see is I think it's going to be all things customer service in 2021. And if that's your thing and you have those skills, I think there's a really great future for you.
In terms of the customer service, Chris, how come? Why would that be such a big thing?
Well, we've seen businesses cut back substantially. And everyone is, as we've talked about, this very strange recession. This is a recession driven. All of us have a desire to consume. We can't. So there's a lot of pent up of everything. And there's just this suggestion that there's going to be demand for everything. And everybody's trying to get in front of that and make sure they take care of customers.
Chris Burkhard, Placer Staffing in Newark. And Chris, just for people that wanted to hand out your website, if you could, before we get on our way this morning.
Absolutely. You can search myplacers.com. We're here to help you with your job search, or if you're a business trying to figure out how to keep labor costs flexible.
Sounds good. Thanks very much, Chris. We'll talk again soon for sure.